I have a 2018 Nissan Leaf with clicking noise on the front left and front right axle every time I uh, press on the brake and then accelerate, and the noise keeps on repeating, most especially when the E pedal is engaged and disengaged. I have the problem diagnosed, um, and the dealership want to charge me $430 for the repair. To solve the problem, the axle nut needs to be removed and replaced and torque it at a higher value, a higher torque. The cost to buy the nut at the dealership is $3.92. I replaced the left side, but the clicking noise is still there. So now I'm going to do the right side with a different approach. All tools I need are available at AutoZone. You can borrow tools there with no cost. This is the special grease needed for the job. There is a notch on the axle nut, and you want that notch to be at 12 o'clock position. So what I did is remove the tire to find out where that notch is, and then mark the wheel and then place it again, and then move so that I will have the notch at 12 o'clock position. I also remove the cap, small cap, covering the axle nut. I remove the cap so I can retighten the axle nut if needed without removing the wheel. So for 2018 Nissan Leaf, the axle nut has a notch to prevent the nut from releasing, keeping it torqued. Other Nissan model has a different way of keeping the nut in, and that's the use of cutter key, but not for 2018 model. The notch needs to be straightened up in order to remove the axle nut. Inspect the thread for any damage, and in my case I damaged it a little, and I use a file to straighten up the thread. I screwed in the axle nut and turn it by hand before using the socket. I pushed in the axle nut all the way as far as I can to have access to the axle gear so I can apply the special grease. I turn the wheel to have access to the other side of the gear and grease it. After applying the grease, now the axle nut is ready to be screwed in all the way up to the point of torquing. This is what I did different. Prior to torquing, I released the handbrake and disengaged the eco mode and the e-pedal. The recommended torque this time is 147 foot-pounds. I set the torque wrench to 147.5 and I started torquing. I marked the nut so I can tell if it will move after driving several miles. I will put on the wheel without crimping it just yet, and I will drive it several miles and check again the torque if it will move or not. With the cap removed, I can insert the socket and retorque it without removing the wheel. The test shows no clicking sound on the right. Now I'm going to drive it several miles and to work maybe, and then check the torque again. So I drove the car for 2 days to work, and each time I come home, I check the torque and inspect to see if the nut has moved. It stayed. Now it's time to redo the left side, following the same process as I did for the right side, and see how it will work. For the left side, I have to force the axle in to have access to the gear behind the discs. Again, release the handbrake, disengage the eco mode and the e-pedal. Set the torque wrench to 147.5 and start torquing. Place marking on the nut and put back the wheel. Put on the wheel without crimping the nut. The test drive shows no clicking sound anymore. I drove the car for several days, and each day I come home, I check on the mark as well as check the torque. I drove for about a week, and it seems that the torque stayed. So now it's time to crimp the nut. Put on the wheel and the cap. Crimp the right side. Here is my cost for the entire effort. I ended up buying 3 axle nuts for $3.92 each. I wasted one. I used the other two. The grease is $19.85, and all the tools that I used are all free of charge. Now the subtotal is $31.61. I paid $160 diagnostic fee to Nissan. You add that to $31.61, that will make $191.61. If I have Nissan to do it, it will cost me $430. Uh, that means I have a cost avoidance of $238.39. I think it's worth doing it yourself if you have the means. Thank you for watching.